This suite only has a bedroom, a living room, and a bathroom, but now, apart from Jessica and me, there's no sign of Jeffrey at all. While I was in the bathroom, I clearly didn't hear the sound of the door opening. I rushed to the door and found the safety chain still securely latched, instantly shocked. If Jeffrey really went out, how could he latch the safety chain from the outside? Jessica and I, both anxious, turned the entire room upside down but couldn't find any trace of Jeffrey. I muttered to myself, this is absolutely impossible. How on earth did he do it? Thinking about what happened after Jeffrey's disappearance in my previous life, cold sweat broke out on my forehead, my spine chilled, and I panicked, utterly at a loss. Jessica immediately called the police. I dashed out of the room and ran to the Dragon Boat race site as fast as I could, frantically searching along the main river bank, tears streaming down my face. When I returned to the room in a daze, the police had already arrived and were trying to comfort Jessica, who was crying so hard she could barely breathe, but she was too emotional to explain the situation clearly. I explained everything that had just happened to the police in detail. Child disappearance is already a serious case in Germany, let alone we are American tourists. The police immediately sent someone to retrieve the surveillance footage. However, the surveillance footage left me utterly shocked. It showed that ever since Jessica and I brought Jeffrey into the room, the door had never been opened again. My mind went blank. Immediately after, the events following Jeffrey's disappearance in my previous life replayed. Half an hour later, the police were notified that a drowned child had been found downstream of the main river and had been rushed to the nearest hospital for emergency treatment. The commotion in the room alerted Fred, who lived next door. He walked over in confusion, and upon learning about his son's disappearance, he flew into a rage. He kicked me, knocking me to the ground. My head hit the bedpost, and blood started seeping out. Fred yelled angrily, "I told you to take good care of Jeffrey. What the hell were you doing? You can't even watch over a child, you useless piece of crap." At this moment, Jessica, who was sobbing uncontrollably, suddenly remembered what Jeffrey had said a few hours ago and glared at me, questioning angrily. Jessica questioned. Jeffrey said back then that you would get him killed. Was it you? Fred immediately remembered this as well and nodded firmly at the police. In an instant, I went from being a victim's family member to a suspect. The police quickly retrieved the hotel lobby surveillance footage, which clearly recorded Jeffrey saying that I would harm him. I stared in shock at everything happening before me, shaking my head in disbelief. I murmured, "No, it wasn't me." Before I could explain, Fred raised his hand and slapped me, angrily yelling, "You wicked woman! How dare you harm your own brother?" I turned my head and fell to the side, ignoring the pain on my face, my mind racing, feeling that something was off. I hurriedly defended myself. No, it really wasn't me. The surveillance caught everything. I never left the room, and I was with Grandma the whole time.